As we continue through the iPad, we're going to look at the photos and camera options. We're going to start with the settings. In your settings on the left-hand side, if you scroll down to photos and camera, you will see several options. The first ones we're going to look at are going to be dealing with if there's an iCloud account attached to the device. As we roll out early this year in the spring, we will not have iCloud accounts on each student device, so we're actually going to skip over those and move down to the Photos tab. The Photos tab is a way that allows you to view every photo in your library, and you can choose, as it says, compact summarized views for collections and years. This is going to matter as you go into the Photos app and you look at them. You can turn that off or on, and as you'll see whenever we go into the app, the way it impacts that. For your camera, you can turn the grid on if you would like to. If you turn the grid on, it will make the boxes that will come up on the screen so you can kind of center it. There are some principles of photography that people may like to use, and one of them may actually utilize the grid. The other thing is the rate at which you can record video. It is default set to 1080p at 30 frames per second, but if you want to change that down to 720, you can. One of the things that may be impacted by that will be the size of the file of the video once you have it. If it does record in 1080p, that is going to be a larger file than if you record at 720. And finally, you have the HDR, the high dynamic range. As it says, this blends parts of 3 separate exposures into one, and if this is turned on, it will save the normal exposure as well as the HDR version. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you have the HDR turned on, you're going to be saving essentially 3 photos in one, so the size of that photo will be larger than one regular photo would be. So, as we move into the camera app itself, your camera is going to have, on the iPad Air, you do have a very great and dynamic photo lens on the outside, which is your iSight camera. You also have one facing you on the home screen, which is the FaceTime camera. So starting in the top right, the camera with the 2 arrows will allow you to switch your camera lens from the iSight on the outside to the FaceTime on the inside. Moving down, you have a timer. Notice it says set to off, but you can change that to 3 seconds or 3 seconds or 10 seconds. If you do that and then you push the camera button, it will actually count down for you. So I'm going to push that, and notice it is giving me a countdown, and then it just took the photo. So you can actually set that to do the timer before it takes the photo. You could turn HDR on or off. Now again, if you have HDR on, when you take a photo, it's going to have 3 exposures, and then it is going to capture all 3 of those together and kind of make a blended image. So right now it just took my HDR photo, and I will be able to see that in my camera roll, which is a horizontal view. So if you hold the iPad horizontal with the home button on the right, that is the suggested way to take a photo with your iPad or iPhone. So the first one we're going to look at briefly is time-lapse. If you do a time-lapse, it is going to actually take the image that it sees. Typically you have someone doing something or there's motion, and then it will speed it up, as you guys have seen, I'm sure, in certain videos that people will do. The next one is video. And video is going to take your traditional video. Again, your settings, we set ours to 1080p. So when you hit the record button, it will start to record, and it will show you how much time is lapsed in the recording. Photo is next, and photo is just your regular way of taking a photo. It is going to take what you see on the screen. Square is actually going to square off the picture, so notice the difference between the photo, which gives me the fuller landscape, and the square, which kind of cuts the ends off. Last is the panoramic, and as you take a panoramic, you'll see that it has an arrow, so what you'll do is you'll actually move the iPad while taking the panorama photo. You can do this either vertically as it shows you or horizontally, whichever way you need to move, and then it will capture that and turn it into one photo. Nice thing about the iPad and the camera on it is that you can centralize and focus the point that you want it to zoom or to actually focus on. So notice when I touch at different areas on the screen, a yellow box appears, and the lens tries to focus on that spot. So another thing that happens is it will adjust the light based on where I touch. So if I am touching an area that there's enough light, it might kind of adjust itself or go to the other way. There is a sun beside the box, and when that sun is up, you can actually take your finger and swipe where that is and either add light to the photo or remove light from the photo depending on what you're trying to focus on. If I touch it in another place, it automatically resets to the middle so that it is not carrying that same adjustment over. Thank you for watching this video, which covers the first part of the photos and camera module for the iPad.